Call this meeting of the Columbia County Board of Commissioners to order for this December the 20th, Tuesday night, 2016, the final commission meeting of the year. And the commissioners and the staff in unison said, "Thank the Lord." Speaking of, we'll ask our Vice Chair, Mr. Trey Allen, to offer up our invocation.
Thank you, sir. Everyone, please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I come before you this evening, this most holy of seasons. Give thanks for all of the many blessings you've bestowed upon us, living in this beautiful county, in this great nation, for all the love of the friends and family we have around us. We ask that you be with us this season, that you constantly be in our thoughts and remind us of purpose. It's Christmas. We also ask that you be with this board tonight, that you guide us, our minds and our mouths, and our hearts for benevolent guidance and your grace. We thank all of those that serve this county, serve our great state, and serve this nation. Thank them all for their sacrifices that they make to make this such a wonderful place. Thank these people. We ask for those graces in your name. Amen.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a quorum for this final meeting of the year with all 5 commissioners present. You've had a chance to look at the minutes of our previous meeting of December the 6th. Take a motion for their approval or for their correction.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Mr. Johnson, I believe we have at least one item to add to the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, to my knowledge, that one presentation,
From Mr. Boslaughter?
Mr. Slaughter, that's correct. Would ask that you add under the presentations, under the Community Pride Awards.
We'll make that 2A, 2B,
Yes, sir.
G2B. Again, I want to welcome each of this meeting of the commission, and remind you, as always, these proceedings are videotaped. If you'd like a copy of the disc, you may obtain one through a request to our county clerk here, Ms. Crawley. Also, that these proceedings are on the county website, or will be after a couple of 3 days. You can view them at that location at your leisure. Remind you, too, that you're invited to speak to this body. If you're not already on the agenda or have not been added to the agenda, we ask that you fill out a speaker form in the back of the room, bring it up to Ms. Crawley here, our clerk, recognize you at the proper time during the meeting. Moving now to our special recognitions, which is always a good time. The final awards for the year. Our Employee of the Month for December, Marcus Blanchard with Construction and Facilities Management. Vice Chair Allen will be making that presentation. So anyone in that group, or Mr. Blanchard, would you come on down front? I'm John Paul Stout, one of our construction managers.
Congratulations, sir. I would like to present our Employee of the Month, Mr. Marcus Blanchard, here. Mark began work for the county in September 2015 as a trades worker and was promoted to craftsman in July 2016. Before working for us, he worked as a retail manager and a district manager for over 20 years. He owned and operated Blanchard's Home Maintenance, residential remodeling, and repairs. And he's a fairly decent carpenter. He graduated from Columbus High School in 1975 and later attended Columbus College. He and his wife Pam live in Appling. They have 4 children, 2 grandchildren, and in his spare time, you like to hunt, fish, and you're an avid bowler. All right. One quick note, for those of you that went to the game day at Lady A or have seen some of those photos from that, I understand Mark was very instrumental in the main worker behind creating the game day desk, replica of the ESPN desk that we had there. And that was an impressive device. It looked just like it came off TV, so. You did all right, sir. You could have given me 1,000 pictures. I don't think I would have gotten close. So congratulations again, sir.
said, Mark really brings a sense of pride to his work every day. And since coming on with the county, he's more than instrumental. He created that from a Google search image picture, and it came out really well. Mark, very knowledgeable, a variety of things that our craftsmen have to deal with. Really helps teach the other folks in the department about methodologies he picked up. Lucky to have him. And he also created the large desk that helped with the early elections this year, helped the flow. We're blessed to have Mark here and proud to work with you, sir.
2016 theme of the fourth quarter is the fire fleet personnel. Leanne Reese will come and Commissioner Duncan will make that presentation.
Dang. Make sure everybody's awake. This way? Pull that for me. It's my honor to recognize Columbia County's fire fleet personnel, Paul Murray, Josh Key, and Michael Bauer, instrumental in keeping the units on the road and repair with time and little notice. And said that you go out of your way regardless of what time it is to get it done. You have a great working attitude, a great team. Wouldn't be able to protect the citizens of Columbia County the way we do if you guys didn't do your job. I want to award you with the team of the quarter. This you'll get a day off with pay, and your manager is required to buy you lunch. I bet you are. Nothing to do with that. How about a few words?
Well, I'm very proud of these guys. I've had the privilege of working with them for the past year since they were put within my division. And they do have quite a challenging job in that when the fire equipment goes down, it can go down pretty hard, I understand. But they're very good at what they do and getting it back up. But even more challenging, they've had to try to explain this stuff to me so that I understand what they're talking about. But they do a great job and a great asset to this.
I just want to thank them again for all the hard work that they do as a new manager coming in at Fleet Services. It's been such a smooth transition, especially because of Murray and his leadership over that team as the supervisor for the fire services. But with Key and Boyer, they do an impeccable job on the fire trucks, and I know that we're blessed to have them in the county, and can't thank them enough for what they do.
Mr. Johnson, I guess it's very fitting that in the year of retirement of Chief Cooper that we get an award for the guys that keep the trucks rolling.
I think it is. I think he very much appreciates that.
Is that just coincidental or was that planned?
I think it was coincidental. Those guys really deserve an award all the time. They work really, really hard.
Next, we have some awards, Community Pride Design Awards. Asked Andrew Strickland, our planning director, and Nana Mister to come forward with, she's a planning manager. These are building designs that get a lot of attention. We got a little bit of a problem with one of the winners, I think, but we'll let that ride until a later date, maybe.
Good evening, everyone. This is our 7th annual Design Awards for our Community Pride Awards. We recognize the developers and project owners for their outstanding contribution to Columbia County's quality of life. These non-residential buildings have been completed last year, and the citizens were invited to submit their favorite choices with respect to character, overall design, and quality of development. We have 3 categories. The first one is commercial, and 3rd place goes to Home 2 Suites by Hilton. And we have the general manager, Suzanne Crosby, who collected the award. and the architect is Mark Campus from Hogan Campus Architecture, and the contractor is Pinkerton Laws of Georgia. The second place in commercial goes to Kroger, and we have Corey Thurmond here to represent Kroger for collecting the award. The architects are CR Architects and Design, and the contractor is R.W. Smith. First place in commercial goes to Sparkle Express Car Wash. We have Lee Richardson here to collect the award, and Jacob Parrick of Definitive Designs and from the design company, and Max Knight of SD Clifton.
That should be good enough to bring in at least 3 more cars tomorrow again.
I hope so.
For our professional category, we actually had tied in third place Augusta Endoscopy, and we have Jeff Meyer representing them, and the architects are Studio 3, Jim Webb and Lydia Mursky, and Yvonne Batchelor of Allen Batchelor Construction. Again, tied in third place, Perfect Health, and we have Dr. Chad Marley, Josh Gibbs, Dr. Troy Kuhn. Architects are Virgo Gamble and Yvonne Batchelor, Allen Batchelor Construction.
Stay up here.
Second place is, ACHS Insurance, and we have Mike Caraway, architects of Virgo Gamble, and Devon Allen Batchelor Construction.
You need a bag? You need a bag to take all that home with you?
First place for professional is Benchmark Seat LLC in Riverwood, and we have Lionel Prather. The architects are Cheatham Fletcher and Scott Architects, Richard Fletcher, Elizabeth McGee, Bill Palladino, and the contractor is Todd Stewart, of Stewart Construction. Richard, you can stay.
That's good. That was recorded. You can pick up your copy in 3 days. Yeah.
And the final award is first place for the community category is the Barnet Champions Retreat. We have Cameron Weeb, and the architects are Cheatham Fletcher and Scott Architects, and the contractor is Alvin Evans, J.C. Stockton.
Doesn't look like my barn.
That doesn't look like your barn.
Think they keep goats in there?
I hope not. They'll build you one, Coach.
Doesn't look like my barn.
I bet they'll build you one just like that, though.
We're going to have a reverse award here, Cameron, so that 3 rounds of golf for everybody at Champions Retreat.
Well, that's who everybody was.
Yeah.
Have it all prepared.
The item added to the agenda is a presentation by Post Slaughter of James G. Swift Engineers concerning some fines for resubmittals. Bo? Give us your name and address.
I'm Bo Slaughter with James G. Swift and Associates at 420 Gemstone Court, Evans, Georgia, 30809. I represent James G. Swift and Associates and myself. We submitted 65 site plans this year and 100 grading plans, but recently we've run into some fourth reviews, and there's two of them that I have a little bit of a heartburn with. One of them is for Health Quest, which it was just a misunderstanding between us and the utility department that they wanted a note instead of just showing the service being not tying into the manhole. So we misunderstood that, and we talked to him after the fact, and he changed his stance to approved instead of disapproved, but I was told that it was too late. It didn't matter. It hit the fourth review, so it's a $1,000 review fee. That's the first one. Second one was Rose Street Child Care, where I was informed the plans were approved. I sent the 8 sets for approval for stamping, and then was notified that it was disapproved from Stormwater because of a missing siphon and skimmer. And there was some non-communication there that I did not get the communication to add the skimmer, and I immediately added it and sent it up there. So he said we'd just substitute out that sheet and we'd be good, but they said no, because it had kicked into a fourth review, that was a fourth review for another $1,000. And technically nobody else had to look at it. Stormwater was fine with it and approved it. So I'm just asking for some leniency and maybe a little Christmas gift. And while I have you here on those two, the third one is just a technicality. I may ask Mr. Chris. I have CK Hotels, and we submitted them back in August, and they got a first review back 1st of September before the $1,000 fee went into effect. But now I hit a fourth one on that due to some site change, building change, and everything. And I just want to make clear that are we under the original fee schedule that would be 50% of the initial review fee, or am I stuck with that $1,000 fee that took place and was approved after we were already in the system? So that's the three things out of 65, I guess. I know, I'm sure I've had a couple more maybe in the past, but we'll try our best to get them approved in 2 to 3. And depending on the site, there's stipulations sometimes that it takes a little more work. And we've been trying, trust me, since the first one came down the tube, I've stayed on the county and made sure we've had approvals before I send it back. And we'll continue to do so as, planning suggests that we'll PDF the plans to them. We'll find out, is this what you're asking? Because sometimes it's not real clear. And this way we'll know it's clear. And when I send it back for that second review, I'm hoping it'll be approved on that second review. So I asked.
Do we have any explanation on the first one, the Health Quest item?
Yes, sir. I do have that on October 27th. Review 2 was sent. One of the comment for water utility was to show that service being tied together, right, that Bo's referring to. And then on review number 3, which is November 18th, we have that same comment. It was not added. Now, the conversation that he had with Mike DeLeon, I'm not privy to that conversation. I just know that we did review the third review. It was a comment that was put on the second review. It was not addressed, and that's why it triggered that fourth review. And I do have those. If you'd like to see, the dog-eared is review 2, and then the last page is dog-eared is review 3.
What did you say was the conversation you had with the other gentleman?
Well, conversation, when we saw that it was still disapproved, we thought he was showing, stating that he did not want to see the sewer service going to the manhole, but he actually wanted a note stating that it didn't go to the manhole. So we called him up as soon as we got it, and he said, oh, yeah, just put a note on there. I'm fine with it. I'll change it, to approve. But once it's done, it's done. So
I looked at that plan, Mr. Chairman, and it was not connected. And so I mean, obviously it wasn't connected, you could see that, but to have a note saying that it wasn't connected.
And Director, Mr. Clayton, was fine with, that's what brought it up, that, he said, no, don't pay the $1,000, it's okay. But Director doesn't have any say-so.
Right, we've made it very clear to staff that staff cannot waive fees associated with commission. That has to be done by the commission. So even though Mr. Clayton was okay with doing it, he has no authority to do so.
I understand.
Matt, how many fees like this charged?
4, 5, Andrew? Where you at? I think 4 or 5.
5, I believe.
I believe that's right. Yes, sir.
You got 3 of them.
He's got 4 of them.
4 of them.
If CK is 1,000 or 250, because
So-
before that.
My question on that, if I can, is just when, we couldn't, after the review, come in retroactively with the law and say that you had to pay for it, but when did that law go into effect as far as when the various reviews were? I mean, you had 4 of them, right?
Right. September 6th is when the new $1,000 fee, our first review was returned to J.G. Swift on September 2nd. So our first review was actually given to him 4 days prior to the new fees being put in place.
But as far as the third, second,
And third reviews.
all after,
that.
I think legally, those would apply to those reviews. I mean, we couldn't go after, if you had a review on day 1 for the 4th review, and then on day 2, we pass a law and say you owed us $1,000 for what happened yesterday, we couldn't do that. But for that kind of timing, it is appropriate. But again, it's up to the commission of.
Okay.
Right.
What about the one concerning childcare?
I'm trying to find that one right now. I've got the information here. I'm just trying to find the layout for it.
For clarity on that, Chris, if the first one was before and then he had 3 after, but it was approved in that third, so he's
That's right. I mean,
not technically at the 4th review then.
the intent of the law is to make it to where you, I said, well, it's to recover your fees for having to deal with it.
Yeah, right.
But it's dealing with people not coming back and over and over again, and that's still happening after the law was passed. So whether it passed before the first or after the first, it doesn't matter. You had other reviews that happened after the law passed, and those would all apply to.
I don't want to speak for, but I think what Gary was saying, the same question that I kind of had was, for clarification, the first one counts even though it was prior, or do only the 3 after the passage count? So do we start over after the passage, or no? They start with number 2, number 3, number 4. Just for clarification.
But in essence, he only had 3 under the new law.
That's the question.
Because one occurred prior to the law.
It was still the 4th review of the same plan.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but only 3 of them are under the new condition. Right?
That's true, but again, the way I see it is that when you pass a law that if you have 4 reviews, if you've already had one, you've already had one, it still counts because you're trying to cover the cost for having to go out there multiple times. Those are still happening. You've had it happen once, it's going to happen again, whether the law was passed before or after the first review. To me, I don't think makes it legal.
So the answer is the clock doesn't reset.
Not reset.
Let me ask you this, Chris. You got something that wasn't against the law, and you did it. But they changed the law, and you did it 3 more times. Are you guilty 3 times or 4 times?
Great question.
Great question. Great question. Be careful.
Well, here you're only guilty one time. Guilty one time for getting to the fourth
Well,
review.
you either got 4 offenses or you got 3 offenses.
We reviewed the plan 4 times.
Yeah, but one of them
Changing
you got scot-free because it wasn't in the rules.
Well, the rule was 50% of the original fee, not no fee at all. So we're deciding, does he pay 50% of what he paid the first time, or does he pay $1,000?
Right. I see it
That's
as
what you're looking at.
fee schedule, right? So fee schedule changes. It changes for things that happen after, that time. So it's not a law that you hit 4 and then you go to jail. This is a fee schedule change, which to me is a different category.
But we're charging him for $1,000, right?
That's what's in the system, yes, sir.
All right, what is the cost for review 3 times?
His original review fee. There would be no cost for that third review. It's part of his original fee.
Which was what?
I don't know off the top of my head. 5, was it? $500.
So under the
Talking 250.
old ordinance, it'd be half of 500, it'd be 250.
Correct.
You find out anything on childcare?
I have that here, yes, sir. We do have the data here where under review 3 shows that the environmental compliance was approved. And then when it came back in, it was denied because of, exactly like Mr. Slaughter said, that there was a conversation asking for a skimmer to be added, and it was not added, and therefore we couldn't sign the plans. It had to be resubmitted again.
Was that noted in number 2, that he needed to add that? Or 1? What I have a little bit of an issue is when we get to number 3 and now we adding something that didn't show up at 1 or 2.
Right.
That's where my concern is.
Well, I think what's happening is we're not doing full reviews. When we get there and we deny it, you have 4 or 5 denials on the first one. We may not review the entire thing because we're going to have to review it, the whole thing again anyway. Problem we've run into in the past with engineers is we would go in and say, okay, you're good to go on this, and then we would let them go forward with that, and then all of a sudden something would get changed, so we have to review the entire plan every single time. I don't know that.
But I think what
got to that review that
I think what I just understood you saying is if something's wrong, you don't look any farther. How are they going to know what they need to correct?
An engineer, it's his responsibility to make sure it's right when he submits it the first time.
I get that, but when you get to number 3, everything that we're requesting that maybe should have shown up at 1, and what you're telling me then, that he's an engineer, they should all be perfect when they come in first time.
Well, a lot of them are. A lot of them, the average review time is 1.4 reviews.
Right. As far as,
But he did have an approval on the 3rd review, right?
And that's
No, sir, there
mitigating
was-
factors for y'all, but as far as whether or not, the law changed and whether you can go back after the fact, to me, it's about knowledge of what the law is. During that 2nd review, during that 3rd review, they knew how many reviews they had, they knew what the law was, what the ordinance was, what the fee was, and it still happened. You have other mitigating factors that y'all can take into consideration, but as far as I'm concerned, they knew what the ordinance was when all those 2nd, 3rd, and 4th reviews happened. I think the fees are appropriate.
so for your original question, did we tell them earlier, the very first review for erosion control, which was what this was part of, asked him to, on all 3 phases of his required plan, to show, for phase 1, show sediment storage requirements and perimeter BMPs. Intermediate phase, show the perimeter BMPs and sediment storage requirements. Final phase, show the BMPs and sediment storage. There's a state mandated checklist of everything he's supposed to show. He has to submit that checklist with his plans. So that's on the checklist that he's supposed to sign off on. So yes, sir, he's aware of that.
So that includes the skimmer and all of that?
Yes, sir. That was on review
Didn't catch
1.
it on that 3rd time around.
Correct. So
I guess what I'm trying to understand is, where's the county's responsibility, and where's the engineer's responsibility? Maybe you can help me. Is it, do you submit it, and then the county shows you what's wrong and you fix it, or is it supposed to be the checklist filled out?
That's all right. We submit a plan hoping it's 100% correct. And we have the checklist, go down the checklist, and sometimes it's a symbol, with soil erosion. Sometimes it's a symbol, different, need a SD1 in or non-sensitive, and sometimes that can change just with the location. So, there's small things that, can be on the checklist, and we've done them, but not quite like the checklist wants or the county wants for that site. So there's are a few things, and in the engineering part of it, there are things that I design that functional and work, and then engineering may want a different trap, or, there's some things that can be gone. And our worst things, and human error, and we misspell or leave out a note. Because all sites don't fit a cookie cutter that we can just paste everything on there. So some sites will get a little less, some sites get a little more, and we may miss something. And like I said, we won't miss it again on the 2nd review. I will have PDF these to all the reviewers and make sure that they're good before I send it back up a 2nd time, so we don't even get to that 3rd time.
So on this 2nd review, the comments for erosion control where my previous comments were not addressed, they please reference the green book for your plan design, and there should be a minimum of 3 phases. So he submitted his 3rd review, and that's when our plan reviewer called him and said, you left this part off. Make sure it's on the final plans and we're good to go. He submitted them, and that's when it was not there. So I guess a PDF went back and forth and somehow got left off the final plan. Don't know how that happened. But that's when the phone conversation happened saying, hey, here's what you're missing. On the third review, it still wasn't there. So that's what got us to the fourth review for that one item. It was one item for the fourth review.
Yeah, Bo, when somebody calls you and tell you to put something on there and you didn't put it on there,
I would have put it on there if I'd gotten a phone call to tell me to put it on there.
I thought we sent,
That's what Randy's told us that he called. And I don't know if he spoke to Bo directly, if he spoke to somebody in Bo's office, I'm not sure.
30 years I've been working with the county, and I try to do everything I can to do what they ask and try to take care of my developer and owner at the same time. And most of the time, we either meet in the middle or, I do what's required to get an approved set of plans. And if I would have gotten a phone call, I would have put it on then and PDF'd it to him and said, is this what you want? And that's what I do 90% of the time. I mean, we send them right back, and we have a good working relationship with engineering and soil erosion, and we've been doing that for years.
Do we have a communication issue where we don't have a dedicated point of contact all the time? That sometimes we're dealing with the owner, sometimes we're dealing with the engineer, sometimes we're dealing with the engineer. I'm asking. Do
Had
we?
that problem in the past?
Yes.
Property owner of the project, developer, on the
Both, actually, the correct answer.
Gentlemen, you want to take any action on this, or would you rather get with the staff and study it a little bit further?
I think it deserves a little bit further.
All right, is that agreeable with everybody? All right. Thank you, Bo.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Move now to our consent agenda. These are items that's been through the necessary committee and got the proper committee and got the necessary 3 votes for approval. Satisfied with this list, we'll take a motion to approve them all as one vote.
So moved.
Second.
Any items needing discussion? Not all in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, our debate agenda, I believe we start with Mr. Duncan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the new part-time magistrate judge position.
Second.
Any discussion of this item? I think this is a no-cost change in the magistrate court.
Right, this is not an additional head, is my understanding, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. No further discussion. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reappoint John Wesley Fuller to the Tax Assessors of Columbia County for a 4-year term.
I'll second.
Now, this is at the request of the Tax Assessor Board. Further discussion. All in favor?
Chairman, I make a motion to approve Resolution 16-1258.
Second.
Driver, give us a brief description of what we're approving here.
So this gives you the ability to use funds after the bond is issued for things that happened beforehand. So I think there's some costs that are associated before the bond is going to be finalized that we'd like to get reimbursed from the bond funds. So to technicality that we have to follow to make sure those can be reimbursed.
If I could add, Mr. Chairman, this specifically relates to the next item you're looking for on the software. We're in a position where we need to place the order for that software now if we want to get ahead of a couple of other jurisdictions that are trying to implement it as well. If we don't, we may be 3rd or 4th in line, and I just felt like it was prudent to go ahead and forward the money, knowing that the bonds would be sold sometime after the 1st of the year, instead of waiting until that time to get in line.
We're going to take money from the general fund of the surplus and replace it with bond funds once it's approved.
That's correct. And that requires a resolution by the board before we can move that money around.
Is there anything else that we're, other than the software?
That's the only one that I'm asking for at this time. We're monitoring other things. This is the only one that's pressing.
Other discussion? All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve a contract with Tyler Technologies for the purchase and implementation of software at a one-time cost of $1,896,500 to be funded from the 2017 GEO bond proceeds.
Second.
We have the explanation of where that money's coming from and how it'll be reimbursed. Any further discussion? All in favor? Mr. Allen, I believe you have a few items.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion to approve the rezoning from R2 to S1 with conditional uses for a place of worship and cemetery. Tax map 074C, parcel 014B, located at 4519 Jesse Road, subject to the conditions enumerated in the December 1st, 2016 Planning Commission report.
Second.
I believe this will correct a non-compliance item also.
That's correct.
Further discussion? All in favor?
I would also like to make a motion to approve amending the bylaws for the Drainage Basin Advisory Council.
Second.
I've forgotten what this is pertaining to specifically. What is it?
It's a revised to match our MS4 permit. Basically says what we have to do with that council, so we're doing that. Also, they're going to be biannual meetings. That's what our storm management plan calls for. And it also changes the department responsible for the meeting from being the water utility to being the stormwater department.
And this brings it in compliance with the state regulations?
Correct.
All in favor? To our normal agenda, we have no legal matters that I'm aware of.
I'll just raise one quick point. You never know what you're going to be thrown at, what's thrown at you in a commission meeting, but I quickly looked up, and you had an interesting point about whether or not prior convictions could be used. I looked up the three strikes law, and prior convictions being used towards a three strikes law was not unconstitutional. So even in the criminal realm, that was okay. This is a side note.
That's a strange side note, but I appreciate you sharing it.
But if the prior action was before the law was even enforced, it could not count.
So if you have a three strikes law passed and you have one in the conviction prior to the passing of the law, it was found not unconstitutional to include that prior action in the three strikes.
Does that make
That was
it
a quick research,
constitutional?
so, you know, that's with a caveat that that's quick,
Google
on the
law.
fly, Google law, that's right.
I got it, yeah.
Right.
Sounds like I can be a lawyer.
I got a little
Yeah,
bit. I got a little bit of a problem with that. but
I can understand that.
I tell you, on that three strikes law, all you got to do is not commit the third strike.
That's right.
Now you got to get out of the batter's box.
That's right.
Quit swinging.
Then we've got quite a few real estate items here that we'll get into with your permission. Vice Chair Allen.
Sir. Second.
Got a gear up?
Getting a little parched. I make a motion to approve $763 to 3765 Old Petersburg Road, LLC, tax map 077F049A, to obtain permanent easement and temporary easement for the Petersburg Sewer Main Upgrade Project.
Second.
Discussion of this item. All in favor?
Says Christmas like a sewer upgrade. I make a motion to approve purchasing parcel of 072231B from Mucho Edgardo, Mucha Edgardo, MD, pension plan in the amount of $205,500.
Second.
Discussion? Must be a real valuable parcel of land there.
That's for the stormwater administration building.
It's actually 2 acres of land.
It abuts land that we have.
Other discussion? Favor?
I make a motion to approve $2,137 to David F. Sandback, Sr., tax map 077A101, to obtain right-of-way for the Evans to Locks Road multi-use sidewalk project.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Really, I'm happy to see that that's moving along a little bit. Next item.
I'm happy to see this one, sir. I make a motion to approve $151,741.94. Donald H. Lindsay Sr., tax map 078C004, $186,136.43 to Charles Brinson Sr. and Linda A. Brinson, tax map 078B001, and $137,000 even to William H. Lewis, tax map 078F252, to obtain the right-of-way for the Flowing Wells Road widening project.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Praise the Lord.
How far along are we with obtaining a right-of-way for that project?
We just started.
All right, that's the first one.
Yes, sir.
Looks like it's
Okay.
gonna be
That's
expensive.
It sure looks high, doesn't it?
Journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
I thought it was about paper cuts.
Okay,
We haven't done a lot of the title work, so we have everything in place to,
Are all of them going to be in this price range?
I would certainly hope not.
Also,
These are full,
Houses.
full
Houses.
take.
Houses.
I don't think.
There are not.
And what you have is, I can't remember how many, but you have some that they know are relocations, locations, and not just for the house, but also some costs for them to find a new place. There's not many of these that are going to.
okay.
I think 6, maybe.
what's the budget on
5 or
that
6.
project?
The total budget's 20 million.
Right, sir.
Ready, Mr. Al?
I make a motion to accept the donation of 75, give or take, acres from James and Caleb Incorporated, a portion of tax map 0651347, 0651321 for Columbia County Green Space Program.
Second.
This is the kind of item.
That's what I'm talking about.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Will we vote on that again?
Well, I'm going to go back the other way. Make a motion to purchase a portion of tax map 072045G and 072045P, approximately 2.46 acres from VCP South LLC in the amount of $1,150,000.
Second.
Any discussion?
Portion of a tax map.
That's property that borders the park.
It is. When is the closing date on that? I got one?
It's the latest it could be is January 3rd, but we haven't, supposed to find out if it's probably be before the end of the year, at January 3rd.
Further discussion? All in favor?
I make a motion to approve a portion of tax map 074130C and 074130E, approximately 79.40 acres from Rodney D. Jackson, in the amount of $1,191,030.
And this is land in the gateway that'll be used for future county projects.
It should be.
Yes, that is correct. I would just add that if we could have the vice chair include as part of his motion to agree to the purchase and sale agreement in this case, because this is a structured payment that we have, that will not be a lump sum at the request of the seller.
There's no interest.
There is no interest. It's just, it's
The tax benefit.
5 equal payments.
You just add with a structured payment schedule?
Of 5 equal payments?
As included in the purchase agreement. I believe the clerk will be able to have that on file as an attachment.
As stated in the purchase agreement. Payment as stated in the purchase agreement.
Yes. I'm fine with that.
So amended.
Have a second for the amended motion.
Made second.
All right, we'll vote first on the amended motion. All in favor? So the original motion is mute. Are you through spending the taxpayers' money?
Man, I tell you, I can.
Pour them out.
Santa Claus.
We had a lick tonight, didn't we?
We good, Wayne?
You got that checkbook with you, sir? All right.
I will say that while the tax commissioner is here, we are just not very far past the tax deadline of November 15th in Columbia County. and our tax commissioner has already collected 92% of our taxes, which is a pretty big feat. I would like to commend you and your staff for that. We watch those numbers. I know you do too, and I know you're well on your way to 100% collection, or as close as you can get. But to have 92% at this particular time is pretty amazing. So definitely our commissioners be commended for that.
Congratulations, Wayne.
Could we get a couple of these real estate purchases taken out of the school board portion of the money?
Please. Have leadership transition going, you may be able to slide it through.
Not very smart asking a former school board member to do something like that. Is there any other business to conduct this year? Anyone have any comments? Russell?
With a penalty.
With penalty.
Willing to pay the penalty. He would probably encourage that because the penalty would be handy.
Easy. It's being recorded. People can buy a copy.
Would anybody here like to make the last motion of the year?
Yes, sir. Make a motion, we adjourn for the year.
I will second that.
Any discussion of that? All in favor? We are adjourned.
God bless us, everyone.